Bow and arrow.
Hi, I'm Ron Bice. We're headed north for the 3 top provinces in Canada for black bear. First, we're going to Saskatchewan and then Manitoba for some of the fall hunting. From there, we'll go to northwestern Alberta to take up some of the spring bear hunting. We're going to be keying in on color phases and bigger bears. And along the way, we're going to join up with Dr. Lynn Rogers, the top black bear biologist in North America. He'll fill in the blanks about bears and bear behavior. So come along as we get the facts in the Bear Facts 2.
I don't make any secret about it that I love black bears. To me, a black bear is the most awesome creature in the North Woods, and that's part of the reason that I've spent most of my adult life learning about black bears, what they need to survive, how they live in the forest, how bears and people can better coexist, and how many bears can be killed without jeopardizing the future of their population. And the reason that is important is that bears are not limited by their habitat like some animals are. Their habitat can support many more bears than people will tolerate. As a result, bears frequently get in trouble with people as people actually invade their territory, but still, the bears come out on the short end of that because when they get into garbage, when they get into people's campsites, the people very often gut shoot the bears, which means the bears will die a lingering death somewhere where the person doesn't have to report that they shot the bear or have to bury the bear. I've had bears that were shot in July, for example, die in November. Horrible deaths. And what is preferable is a well-managed hunt in which hunters kill the bears cleanly and humanely because they want the bear, and they use the meat, they use the hides, so hunting black bears is a necessary tool in black bear management.
Let's join Mark Peterson as he hunts the blaze bear of Saskatchewan. While hunting in Saskatchewan, you're required by law to wear outer clothing of all white, scarlet, orange, or yellow, or any combination of the 4. Mark has opted to wear white, but has added stripes of the other optional colors. Knowing that bears have no color vision, let's look at this combination from the black and white perspective of the bear. By adding the stripes, he's broken up the large pattern into many smaller ones, making him a lot more difficult to be detected. Now let's sit back and watch as Mark's setup pays off. When bears come to a bait, they come for a reason: to eat. Once comfortable with the situation, they will feed until satisfied. You'll have time to take the shot you feel comfortable with, so don't be too anxious to shoot. Make sure you're calm and ready. If a bear leaves before feeding, he's usually just testing the situation. Even if the bear sees you, as long as you remain quiet and still, he will almost always come back. So be patient and wait for the right shot.
Stop running.
There's some blood. We got a lot of blood here. There's the arrow. Bear has gone through there. There's a lot of blood. That was a good hit. A lot of blood. Put this back. We do know he's dead. We heard him. A lot of blood all the way through here. Oh, look at all these raspberries in here too. Shouldn't be much farther. A lot of blood all through here. There he is. He went about, well, I don't think that's even 30 yards. Say about 20, 25 at the tops. Oh, look at the feet on this guy. Now that is a nice bear. Look at the size of these pads. That's a nice chocolate bear. It's a real nice chocolate colored bear. Love it.
There's two advantages in fall hunts, one to the bear, one to the hunter. For the bears, the cubs are large enough that they can survive on their own. If by some misfortune the hunter would shoot the mother, the cubs can make it through the winter on their own, although the mother would normally carry them through the winter into the next June when she'd kick them out just before she came into heat for the next litter. To the hunter, the advantage is that you see more bears than you do at any other time of the year. The reason is that bears are moving around covering a larger area. 67% of the males and 40% of the females roam 10 to up to 126 miles outside their usual living areas in their search for food to fatten for upcoming hibernation. A lot of these bears have some destination in mind, so if they find your bait, they might eat it and go on their travel. Their mother might have shown them some place which is a very good feeding area, or they might have discovered it in some previous year. But the good thing though is if a person is on a good travel corridor for the bears, you see a different bear every day, which gives you a selection of bears, and you can select towards the larger bear, which tends to be a male. Males run about 50% bigger than the females on the average. So fall has a lot of advantages as the bears move in this larger area to fatten for hibernation.
Let's join Ron Bice in search of a Manitoba chocolate. Ron set up about 100 yards on the other side of this beaver pond. Bears are drawn to these ponds as the ponds are home to many different foods for the bear, beaver being on top of the list. If there are bears in the area, it won't take long for a bait to be detected. Bears will funnel around such ponds, as in this case, and intercept the bait location. Now let's get back to the hunt, as Ron notices a bear coming in. This bear has been in the area for over 45 minutes, but hasn't offered the right shot. right shot. Ron's made a perfect hit on this animal.
He's still right there, 25 yards away. I know he's not far. In fact, he's right there. Just in case, I'm gonna walk up and make sure that I touch him and make sure that he's. Should always approach him from the back, but I was positive that he had been done. He is a beautiful chocolate bear. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. You know, this is a beautiful chocolate bear, and I had my heart set on a chocolate up here. One nice thing about Manitoba, Saskatchewan area is you're starting to get into that color phase. East of the Mississippi, 99% of the bears you're going to see are going to be black. I wanted to get a color phase black bear. This is a beautiful chocolate animal. He came in, he was in the bait for about 45 minutes, and he wouldn't offer me any particular the right shot. I wanted to go quartering forward up into the rib cage. These bears have got a lot bigger shoulder blade than we think. If you're used to shooting deer or elk or something like that, where you would maybe go right in on a deer or an elk, you're going to bounce right off of that shoulder blade, that scapula. Not so much the knuckle, but the scapula. It's huge. I shot this bear with an 80 grain broadhead. It's a Beeman broadhead and a Beeman shaft. And with the XI bow that I'm shooting, I'm getting 250 feet a second. The bear had no idea what happened. If you make your quartering forward shot into that bear, the bear almost always is going to go 25 to 50 yards and it's going to be over. This bear is going to make a beautiful rug. He's going to make some fine eating. I'm pretty pleased to have gotten it.
With the tags filled and the season coming to an end, Eagles View says goodbye to Bear Valley Outfitters in Swan River, Manitoba. But with the arrival of spring, they find themselves in northwestern Alberta, hooked up with big game outfitters in Little Smoky to hunt the remote spring bears. Let's join Ron Cormier on a hunt to see if bear lure really works. We find the best baits to use are pastries, grease, honey, oats, anything sweet, fresh beaver, and other fresh red meats. A combination of 3 or more of these foods is desirable. It seems when we go to Sunday brunch or a smorgasbord, we always eat more than we'd planned, and we always remember to go back. Well, bears behave in much the same way. Contrary to popular belief, fish is a poor selection for bait. Ron set up over a bait of beaver, restaurant grease, and oats, and has a bottle of Ultimate Bear Lure placed in front of the barrel. Let's check out which is the most attractive, as Ron has a bear coming into the bait.
about this Alberta black bear hunting, so we thought we'd come up here and take a look. It's everything we heard and more. You saw the way this bear came in, walked right in the bait, stuck his nose in that ultimate bear lure, looked around, walked over to the bait and laid down. He gave me a nice quarter-away shot when he stood up and turned. That's the kind of shot you're looking for. I shot him, he went about 40 yards. The best thing about hunting in Alberta is you can take 2 bears. The next one might be even bigger.
In the spring, of course, the bears are not as big as they're going to be in the fall. They've lost 15 to 20% of their weight over winter, and then growing bears can more than double by the time fall comes around. In the spring, they are starting out on the emerging grasses and emerging vegetation, and later in spring they're eating ant pupae, which they get by tearing open logs and turning over rocks. And to get these kinds of foods, which are scattered more, in general throughout the forest, they don't have to cover as big an area as they do later in the year when they're going for patches of acorns and berries, which are more scattered. So in the spring, a person might see the same bears coming to their bait day after day. The thing to watch out in the spring is for mothers with cubs, because often as not, a mother will leave her cubs 100, 200 yards away from an area that she perceives as a potential danger. At the bait, she could encounter other bears, she might smell the hunter, and she'll leave her cubs up a tree and come in. So it's a good idea to have a bait up on a tree a ways so that you can see the bear stand up, and look for those enlarged nipples with the area of sparse fur around them, showing that it's a lactating mother.
Now let's join Bruce Habella, who's set up on a bear that comes a little too close for comfort. Bruce taps the bear on the nose with the wheel on his compound bow. Bruce decides to wait out the evening for a bigger bear and passes on taking this easy shot. However, the thrill is something he won't soon forget. With no larger bear sighted last evening, Bruce is ready to take the tree climber if he returns to the bait. Let's see how his hunt unfolds.
No more tree climber.
I'm pretty sure this is the same rascal that climbed up the tree with me last night and said welcome to Alberta. He got a little bit close, so I guess tonight was payback time. That's really a good thing to point out is that if a bear does happen to come up your tree, basically it's out of curiosity. He just wanted to come up and see what I was, and he got a little bit closer than I would have liked. But if you're in that situation, just basically don't panic, don't holler or scream at the bear. Just take your bow or your boot or something like that, rattle it around a little bit, and they'll go back down. We had a lot of fun, and that's really what hunting's really about. We just had a blast, and I hope you get a chance to get out and take a bear like this yourself.
Black bears aren't as dangerous as people generally think them to be. One thing that gives them their dangerous reputation is that they have a habit of when they feel uneasy with something but they don't really want to leave the area, of explosively going. And I gotta admit that fooled me for about 20 years. I could not stop from leaping back when a bear did that. But after a while it dawned on me, the bear is just time and time again not following through. And of course you carry some of the grizzly ideas in your mind and attribute those to black bears. And between everything, even though I knew that black bears weren't as dangerous as people thought them to be, I still thought they were more dangerous than they really are. When they feel uneasy, they'll, as part of this lunge, they might slap a tree. They might pounce hard on the ground. It just makes the ground shake. It's all done so explosively that a person cannot help but react. The attacks are very rare by black bears, outright offensive attacks. But if a black bear does come after a person seriously, chances it wants to kill the person and eat them. And so instead of offering yourself as a human sacrifice, the best thing is to fight back with all of your might. Rocks, clubs, whatever you can find at hand. But let me put that in perspective. These attacks are so rare that a person has a 374 times better chance of being killed by lightning than being killed by a black bear. For each death from a black bear, for example, there's 180 deaths from bee stings, 67 deaths from domestic dogs, 90,000 homicides, 190,000 traffic deaths, So the chances of being killed by a black bear are extremely slim.
Now let's join Ron Bice as he thinks he sees a grizzly bear. In this part of Alberta, there's a small population of grizzlies. Ron's gotten just a glimpse of a bear that is very light brown, and this has him a little concerned, considering he's hiked over 1.5 miles to reach this bait. As it turns out, it's not a grizzly. Grizzlies have a large hump over the shoulder area and also noticeably longer claws. It's a rare color for black bears, maybe 1 in 500. Ron decides to take the bear if he can get the right shot. The moan of the bear is air escaping the chest cavity. It's a sure sign the bear is dead. It's been our experience that about 40% of the time we hear the so-called death moan. There is no suffering involved as the bear is, in all reality, dead on its feet.
Real pretty color bear. It's not that big, but by golly, it's awful pretty. What an absolutely beautiful animal. I tell you what, he's the prettiest bear I've ever seen in my life. He came into the bait and I was seriously thinking about maybe not taking him, but the color is just phenomenal. I've hunted a lot of black bears and I've hunted all over Canada. And I've shot a lot of the jet black bears. As far as color goes, east of the Mississippi, it's hard to find a color-phased animal. Here in Alberta, you can take 2 bears. That's the nice thing about it. I decided to film my first tag on this beautiful color animal. He came in and gave me a nice broadside shot, maybe just a titch quartering forward. I let the arrow go, and obviously it hit its mark. Razor sharp broadhead, he went 40 yards. Well, we're getting low on light. I think we're going to pack him out of here. The nice thing about it is, I'm going to start working on my second tag. God, what a beautiful animal.
Black bears can come in any color from jet black to a creamy white. In the eastern forests, where the bears live mostly in the shade, most of the bears are black. There's a few brown ones, and there's the rare blonde one. But when you get out west in the more open areas, then there's a lot of light-colored bears. One thought on this is that the black bears become overheated too easily in the sun. And the light-colored bears can feed longer in the mountain meadows than a black bear could. Whatever the reason, and nobody knows for sure, some areas out there have as many light-colored bears as black bears. And they're all black bears. All the color phases can be born in the same litter. You can recognize them from their faces too. Different colors in the faces, light muzzles, dark muzzles, light eyebrows, dark eyebrows, white V's on the chest, which a few bears have, black bears have, and they can even change color. Very dark black bears, some of them have a tendency to bleach out through the summer until the next spring when they're molting. They can be a blonde bear molting into very dark fur again, and the cycle repeats.
Let's join Chris Wallace and the bear that wouldn't come in. Chris is set up on a bait with a large boar working it. He knows because of the oversized scat, tracks, and claw marks on the trees where the bear has marked its territory. The bear is circling the bait to get a better feel for the situation. Later, he's back. Bears are generally nervous when approaching a bait for several reasons. Obviously, the person leaving the food may be around. Another bear could be in the area. A sow with cubs will not be a friendly encounter. And there's always the possibility there will be a hunter close by. It's 1 hour later, and he's back again, but he just won't come into the bait. Larger, older bears aren't fooled as easily as a younger bear, but even the big ones can be taken. Keep an eye on what the bear does, and make a plan from what you've learned. Tomorrow is another day. With daylight fading, Chris has no choice but to head back to camp. With an anxious night under his belt, Chris has come up with a new strategy. He's going to relocate his stand to the corner where the bear seemed to hold up. This way, if the bear plays the same game, Chris will be within good bow range and hopefully get an opportunity to take this exceptional animal. It's been 2 hours, and Chris sees a bear coming in. The way he's located his stand, he will get a shot if the bear goes to the bait or comes around the corner. The bear is directly below Chris's stand. The plan has obviously worked. By paying attention to what the bear did the evening before, Chris gained the information needed to take this trophy of a lifetime.
Here's part of the arrow. I watched him fall right down here, about 40 yards away. It looked like all he went. And I think he's a good one. Oh yeah, there he is. He's laying there. Wow! What a head on that thing. Oh, it's the biggest bear I've ever taken. Nice, beautiful brown muzzle. I bet he's at least 19 inches. Maybe even more. What a big one. My first Alberta trophy. Long way up here, but it was well worth it. I think the work starts now, and I think what we'll do is we'll share with you a few techniques on how we can properly prepare him to get him to your taxidermist so you can have a trophy to last you for a lifetime. This is truly a trophy. There's several different ways to skin a bear out for proper taxidermy work. And if you've got a trophy bear or are going on a trophy bear hunt, you may want to take the time to contact your taxidermist and find out special directions for how he'd like it prepared. The way I'm going to show you is just the way most of us do it here for tanning a rug, or it can be life-sized or done anything with. But it's a good way to skin it, it's an easy way, and I want to show you how to do that. The first thing I want to do is start right down here, like you're going to field dress it, and I want to make a cut inside here, and I'm going to go all the way up the belly. And I want to cut this from the belly all the way right up to the base of the neck. From the base of the neck, I'm going to want to take in and stretch out his front paw. I'm going to start right here in the center of his paw, and I'm going to skin straight down the middle of the foreleg here, right to the elbow. Once I get to the elbow, I'm going to want to cut down in through here and go through the inside of the leg and bring it back out to the center cut. After we're finished with the front legs, we want to do the same thing with the back. Again, I'm going to start right at the base of the heel here. Up the back of the leg to a point right below the vent. And join it right up with the other cut. Those are the 4 basic cuts that we need to make to take the skin off this bear. After we get to this point, we're simply going to start to skin the bear and take the hide off as cleanly as possible and with a minimum amount of holes. That way you're always assured to get the best mount out of the skin we possibly can. Just start by taking the hide and slowly separating it and pulling it off and skinning as you go. Being careful not to cut too far down where we're going to damage the hide, where we have to do unnecessary sewing. Now that I've finished skinning the bulk of the bear, what I do is I disassemble it at the knuckle joints at all 4 legs. And then again, I cut it off at the base of the skull. I've also tried to take off as much of the excess fat and flesh as possible. That way it can be, when I put it in the freezer, it'll get froze down as soon as possible. There won't be any insulators left. Next thing I want to do is get this hide. It's all ready to go. We want to get it to your taxiderms or get it in the freezer as soon as possible. One of the ways I like to freeze them up, and I think it's very important, is to just fold your bear up, skin to skin if you like. And make a nice little package. And always keep the head on the outside. That way, after it's froze, or your taxidermist got it, he's able to work with this as soon as possible. And by doing that, your bear should be ready to be mounted for a lifetime of pleasure and use.
Now let's join Ron Cormier and the Come and Get It Bear. The bait is set up next to a beaver pond and has great bear activity. A really nice boar was spotted from the road as our guide was making a bait run to the north. It's been 10 days since the bait has been established and is now ready for the hunt.
very far here. He's right over here. He only went about 25 yards. And let's go take a look. Yeah, there's real good blood. Looks like a double lung. It's real light blood. I can see the bear. We've only gone about 10, 15 yards already from the bait. Yeah, he's a pretty nice, he's a dandy bear. Nice Alberta black bear. Check him out here. I haven't seen him move in a while, but just a little more close from the back there. Yeah, he's all right. Well, I'll tell you, that's what Alberta's all about. Get to take 2 bears.
You know, when you're in bear country, bear sign can really be subtle. A lot of times it's hard to find, but there's certain things to look for. For example, this here is an anthill that a bear has actually come and scratched away. And as he scratches away, the ants come up to the top and he gets them on his paws, and he'll sit there and he'll feed on his paws and he'll take those ants. So this is a real subtle piece of information that shows there's bears in the area. Another good piece of information is this beaver skull. This is a beaver that's been preyed on by a bear, no question about it. So right in this area, we've got 2 pieces of subtle information that definitely spells bear. Let's go check out some other stuff. Now this is probably the most obvious sign that you're going to find, bear droppings. These particular droppings are extremely fresh for one, but it's probably about a 100-pound bear. If you're dealing with a large bear, you're going to have diameters about like that, and you're going to have a volume more about like this. And that's the type of scat we're really looking for if you're going to look for a big bear. Here's another subtle piece of bear sign. This is a scratch tree. What a bear's doing is he's coming up here and he's scratching on both sides of this tree. And he'll come back year after year and he'll scratch on this particular tree. And other bears are probably using it too. But as the tree itself, they use it as an itching post. And a lot of times you can look on the tree and you can find hair and fur that's blended into it, and it'll tell you what color the actual animal is that was rubbing on it. And it looks like we're dealing with a possible blonde bear on this particular scratch tree. Now here's some more subtle sign right here. This is where a bear is actually digging around, he's rooting, he's eating roots, he's also looking for grubs, he's looking for insects, but he's just sitting here scratching around. And when you find something like this, you're looking at some subtle bear sign. Another sign that's actually fairly obvious is look at the trees. A lot of times you'll see where the bears are climbing the trees to get up top to get some of that fresh poplar leaf. A lot of times the sow will send her cubs up. When you see the trees are all scratched up, you know that you're looking at bear sign. Probably the best sign to look for is fresh bear tracks. Now they're hard to find, but when you're in soft sand or if you're in mud, that's the best place to look. Now this track right here is fresh. We can tell because we drove in here earlier. But one thing we're looking for is we're looking for a wider pad. Say about a 5-inch across the back of it, or across the pad. Anything between 5 and 6 inches is definitely a pulping young animal. There's a wide variety of bear sign you can look for. This is another example here where a bear has actually been digging in the ground here. He's been digging for whether it be a rodent or something that somebody buried here. But what's going on is you can see where he's been clawing it out and just digging away here. There's a wide variety of sign. We've looked at some of the examples of sign, and they're pretty subtle. But in reality, when you're looking at your area and you're looking for bear sign, realize that it's subtle. And don't be disappointed if you find a lack of sign. Because the reality of it is, if you find just a few key pieces, you're looking at some pretty good bear country.
Now let's join Al Kuntz as he hunts the shell-shocked bear. Possibly the toughest part of hunting over bait is sitting quietly for long hours on stand. We usually sit for 5 or 6 hours at a time. A bait location has its own natural sounds, such as birds and squirrels that frequent the site. A bear approaching the bait will determine from the natural sounds if it's safe to enter or not. If the lesser animals aren't relaxed, the bear can tell. So being quiet and still will increase your odds of getting the bear you want. When selecting an outfitter, it's important to find out what type of bait they use and how often the bears are being baited. We find it's much more desirable to hunt a bait that's refilled at least 3 times a week. This way, the bears associate the food with humans and aren't so concerned if they send a hunter at the bait. Taking advantage of the same setup Ron Cormier took his record book bear from, Al's enjoying some of the natural splendor of the hunt.
June 1st, Northern Alberta. Where else could you harvest such a nice spring bear only days after another large boar was taken off of the same bait? Boy, when that arrow hit him, I'm sure he thought another boar was attacking him. He went over on his back like he was going to be ready for a fight. He couldn't have went a total of probably 35 yards, and this is where we found him, right here. You can probably see the tree stands in the background. Can't beat it. What a way to end a hunt. It's my last day of my hunt. My plane leaves tomorrow at 4:30. And I couldn't be happier.
What we want to talk about is why this bait was so successful. You saw we took 2 good quality boars off this bait. What we were doing is we were taking a bait run to the north here, and we spotted a bear in this beaver dam. So we came around, we set up a bait. It took about 10 days for the bears to find this bait, but when they finally did find it, they were spending a lot of time here. We noticed a number of piles of scat here and 2 different sizes. We had a larger pile of scat and a smaller pile, which led us to believe we had a large boar here and a smaller boar. What we did is we pruned a trail from the road to our stands on the other side of this creek here. It was a perfect opportunity because we didn't believe that these bears were going to go on the other side of this creek to check anything out over there. We had one person bait this bait, and that was Everett, our guide. He'd come in the same way every day at the same time. He'd bang these bait buckets together, and he'd put the bait in there and he'd leave. and they were getting hit every day. We pruned this trail, we set up our trees, which enabled us to sneak in and not put any more scent other than Everett's scent coming down this trail. When Everett came in, banged these barrels together, and he left, it took about an hour, and these bears walked right in. They felt very comfortable that the person who was leaving this food was already gone. They weren't skittish, they walked right in and laid right down to eat. It was a great opportunity for us to take a few bears, and I think it can be successful for you.
If hunting is part of bear management, I think that we owe it to the bears to get the best equipment that we can, that can do the best job, to become skilled with that equipment, and wait for the right shot so we can take the bears as cleanly and humanely as possible.
Eagles View's preferred products are XI Compound Bows, Sightmaster Bow Sights, UV Killer, Predator Camouflage, Trailhawk Tree Stands, Beam and Hunter Arrows, Scent Shield, and Ultimate Bear Lure.